name's Jen, and I'm here today to just share a little bit of astrology with you. So, I'm self-taught in astrology. I've been studying it for around 3 years now. It's been one of my biggest personal growth tools that's really allowed me to understand deeper levels of myself, deeper levels of lower expressions of different parts of my personality and how I work, and also understand how I can stretch into those higher potentials and come deeper into connection with my soul and my soul's energy. And, our souls have been around since the dawn of our time, at least. So when I talk about connecting in there, there's like a window, I believe, through our heart where we connect to our soul's energy. And as we strip back the layers on this spiral journey that we're on, we let go of baggage and things that are preventing us from really being in our soul's core essence. And that plays in nicely today's theme because I'm going to be talking about the North and South Node. And you may or may not have heard of these, but simply put, they are our soul's growth. And when they are in our personal natal chart, the position of which they're in, the house, the sign it's in, and also any aspects to that. So that's how it's interacting with other planets at the specific angles or asteroids. Um, those are the key things to look at with our north and south nodes. So our north node is our soul's growth that we're all being encouraged to step into at this time. So when it's transiting in the collective, this highlights the collective soul's growth right now. So what everyone is being stretched into. Now, you may find, like some people, they have a nodal return right now, or they have a nodal reversal. That's the topic of another conversation. But if you do have a nodal reversal or um, a nodal return, which means the node comes back to exactly the point where it was when you were born or in that sign, then you will feel this energy much more intensely. And the thing I want to share as well about astrology is it is very unique to us, and we all have our own unique blueprint, our own unique star map, our own unique Mayan glyph, our own unique cosmic makeup of where we've come from and the nations, maybe stellar nations we're from, but certainly our greater star self beings beyond this earthly realm. And with that, we all come with our own lessons, our own growth points, our own karma, all these things. And as a consequence, like the astrology will work with each one of us in our own unique way. So when I'm talking through the themes of the North and South Node, which I'll explain more fully in a moment, I just invite you, excuse me, I just invite you to reflect on which ones apply to you, either in the past, presently, maybe there's a trigger there that's bringing something deeper into your conscious awareness around who you are now and what you're moving towards, and maybe patterns that are you're noticing or you notice more around yourself that are maybe more in a lower expression rather than a higher expression. And that's okay. This is the human journey of growing and stretching and learning. And again, this very much ties into these nodal themes of compassion, which I'll go into in a moment. So we have the North and South Node, and these will always be transiting at opposite sides of the axes. And in your natal chart, they'll also be the same. And I believe on astro.com, it just shows your North Node. So you go to the exact point in the opposite sign, in the opposite axes, and you find that point on your chart if it's not shown. And it will show like a U shape with two maybe little circles on each end. It's like an upside down U. Um, and and then a U that goes like this. Okay, so those are the little symbols we're looking for. I haven't put them on the sheet, but I can certainly share those below. And so what happens is we have the collective soul's growth, and this cycle moves for 18 months. And what happens is the North Node is our soul's growth that we're all stretching into at this time. And our South Node transit is where we are looking at the habits to let go of, things that maybe are outdated, unhealthy. We're letting go of lower expressions of this sign. So we want to embody the higher expressions of, in this case, Pisces, which is the current transiting North Node. And we want to let go of the lower expressions of Virgo. Okay. And the themes in this are really powerful, and I'm going to share them with you in just a moment. So I'll just share this worksheet that I created and have been using at workshops this year. So as you can see, these nodes are transiting from January 2025 all the way to July 2026. So we've still got quite a lot of growth period. We're only in the early stages of diving into these teachings. And actually the nodes move backwards in the chart. So it's a little bit different to the other ones. They move clockwise, whereas everything else moves anti-clockwise. Um, so the nodes. So with these themes of, let's get into the themes now, shall we? Should we get into the juiciness of what these are for all of us at this time? So we've got the Virgo South Node themes, all right? And what happens is we're letting go of the lower expressions and move into the higher expressions, all right? And I have got deeper exploration around the opposites of these two, which I can go into later. But in regards to kind of this Virgo South Node, it's things like perfectionism, critical first reaction, seeing flaws in everything, the need to micromanage and control and needing everything to be immaculate or organized. Does anyone know that one? I certainly did. And it was very much for me a trauma response that I was holding. I needed my environment to be safe because actually I didn't feel safe in my body, right? Um, so yeah, controlling everything to the nth detail. Over analysis or analysis paralysis. Have you ever had those times when there's so much going on in your brain and you just can't slow down? And as a consequence, it doesn't slow down. And as a consequence, you can't move forwards. Yeah, this is some of the lower expressions of Virgo. Workaholism. So somebody said to me recently, and they actually had a Virgo sun, which I found very interesting. In a workshop, they said, "Oh, well, you're not taking that away from me. I love my workaholism." And actually, there's nothing wrong with working a lot, and there's nothing wrong with having work as a high priority. So just applying some essential oils, some beautiful bergamot oil. Oh, it's gorgeous. Very clearing and centering. So there's nothing wrong with loving work, and there's nothing wrong with devoting to a purpose and getting stuck in. And we'll see more of this as we flow through this information. But what I would say is when it is not in balance, that's when it becomes workaholism rather than just loving your work and doing a lot of work. It's when your health and well-being, this is the health and well-being axis, spiritual health Pisces, physical health Virgo. So lots of health things coming up for everyone. And depending on when you're watching this, we are going into the red serpent wave spell in the Mayan calendar soon. That's the next wave spell, and that is very much around recognizing our body's needs and our sacred sensuality and so much. So, yeah, it's going to be coming up even more. So, workaholism, I absolutely love if you love your work, but is it in balance with your spiritual life, with your spiritual health, and is it in balance with your physical health as well? The whole thing, emotional health, all of it. Um, so rigid health routines and being overly focused on health. So I do know some Virgos, they can be very much like this. They can also be quite messy, and quite scruffy. So it goes both ways, right? But there tends to be a te much higher tendency to being very overly focused on health and very specific about certain things and cleanliness. Self-doubt, we all know that one, and hyper anxiety reactions and obsessive worry can come up. And I'd say that most of us have, experienced self-doubt in some point. And I would say that sometimes a little dot of this is good. It keeps us humble, it keeps us in check, it keeps us, yeah, serving from that heart space, remembering that we're, really keeping that ego in check, remembering we're never better than anyone else. But also it can be very debilitating and prevent us from moving forwards. So, and even today, as I record this, I've got some self-doubt about sharing it. So let's see what happens. Interesting how I'm constantly working with these energies very strongly too. And with that conscious awareness, it allows me to stretch and grow even more. So I'm just calling that in for you too, if you desire. So now we're going to go over to the Pisces North nodes. And this, as it says, is the area we're all growing and stretching into. So This node basically is about stretching into trust and surrender into flow. Have you ever had those days where you literally let go of all the thoughts and you're just in flow, moving from one activity to the next? I don't know how present this is for you. For me, it comes and goes. Um, yeah, certain plants really support me with that. But it's, something that we're being asked to soften into right now. And actually, soften is a word that has been coming quite strongly. And when you look at these two signs, you've got Virgo, which can be quite contained, very contained, actually, can be very contained. Um, and then we've got Pisces, which is very much more ethereal and floaty and water-like, all these things. You can see that there is a softening being asked of us in this time. And some of that is really then allowing us to come into this place of unconditional love and forgiveness and healing of ourselves. And, it really landed in me, yeah, through the last kind of 6 months, maybe longer than that, 12 months. Yeah, about self-compassion because I've had some really challenging situations arise. And through those situations, I've really had to come back and tend to these inner parts that take responsibility for everything. And as soon as someone comes to me with a problem, I take it all on board and make it all about something that I've done and quite often not even founded either. So that was an interesting journey. But then I moved to this real place of self-compassion of just like, look, I'm here trying to do my best in this human, earth school. And, I like to think that all of us are here doing that. And the more we move into these Pisces themes of, compassion and empathy and emotional healing and living from the heart, which is very much the themes at these times, the more this echoes through society and the more we can come into flow and come into that elevated consciousness of heart consciousness, this crystalline diamond heart that is asking to be activated in our light body, in our energy field at this time, is what has been coming through to me. And, as we embrace spiritual life into our lives in whatever way that looks like, whether it's meditation, whether it's practice, whether it's finding the sacred in every day. And this is something that's part of my everyday practice. It's taking a breath and stopping and noticing that flower or that cloud or that smell or that leaf, that sunshine and the dappled shade on the ground, the smile on your child's face, the warmth you feel when a friend messages you or you support someone or whatever it is that brings you joy, the joy you get in your body when you dance, how good you feel when you do yoga, walking, or you're in the woods with the trees and the plants and the flowers. Just any of those things that bring you into this heart space of living in a higher frequency, essentially, is what I also feel we're being asked to allow into our lives. And it feels like as we soften into this energy that is available to us, the energy of the divine, the energy of source, the energy of the universe, whatever you call it, God, creation. um, the more we soften into that, the more we can all elevate into this higher consciousness. And, I find myself slipping out of it. I was in it for a long period. When I'm on my own, it's a lot easier to maintain, even though I'm in a spiritual boot camp in a built-up area in the edge of Liverpool. Um, yeah, I'm when I'm on my own, on the whole, I manage to maintain my frequency as long as my field is clear and I'm maintaining my spiritual hygiene. And this again is part of that Pisces themes, right? Where we're being asked to um lean in to embracing our spiritual gifts, our spiritual life, our our senses. And yeah, trusting in intuition, beyond logic. So Virgo associated with Mercury, very, very logical, very mind-based. Excuse me. Pisces is associated with Neptune, right? So things could feel foggy right now too, because this makes everything foggy, fog, fog. However, right now it's the 3rd of July and we have got about Neptune is about to go retrograde. So that foggy fog will turn off a little bit, and a lot of things may come out the shadows because as the fog drops, we get to see what's been hiding in the shadows. So in that fog. So let's see what happens next. And I've got goosebumps all over my arms. So I'm trusting that that is, yeah, smooth for us all. So, are we getting this? So so these just to highlight if you if you're triggered at all, because these are your signs, or Virgo is your sign, because that's what we're seeing the lower expression, or some people may call it negative. I don't really work with those negative and positive terminologies as much as possible. I think it's divisive, and not supportive of growth. But if you have Virgo in your chart, just know that these are the lower expressions, and actually what we want to do is in balance, we want to embody the highest expressions of Virgo and stretch into the highest expressions of Pisces. And the thing with these nodes is, right? These nodes essentially, um, we want to balance both of them. But this is what I was going to say. Sorry, I went off then. So the Pisces North Node, whatever is the North Node at this time, okay, can feel like a stretch. It can feel unfamiliar. There can be some resistance. There can be, yeah, hesitation. There's a whole range of things, but it can feel uncomfortable. And I know there can be this kind of philosophy of like anything where there's resistance, where it's uncomfy, like don't go there. But I also, unless you're completely stripped of all your shadow and all your any wounding that you've had and all your karma and all your past life energy, then there can be resistance that's actually in front of that's the level of the comfort zone, and there's gold to be found on the other side. So it's just about really using your body medicine and understanding why is that resistance coming up for you, and really checking yourself, is this coming up for me because it's something I really need to consider in my reality right now, or is it old energy? Okay. So, where was I going with this? We're going to move on now. Okay, we're going to move on. So, we're embracing the highest expressions now of Pisces. And these are where we're growing and stretching into. Okay, and then, then the next one we're going to look at is the higher expressions of Virgo and the lower expressions of Pisces. And just stay with the Virgo for me for now because we just talked about this, right? So, as we are consciously letting go of any Pisces lower expressions that we previously looked at that we're aware of, we can then stretch into or allow through us the higher expressions of Virgo. So then this side of the axes comes into balance. And with astrology, there's always a balance to be found between the two axes, always. Okay, sometimes it has to seesaw. And sometimes, then the more work we do on it, it can come more into equilibrium. So the higher expressions of Virgo are things like humility and integrity. Virgos have really high levels of integrity, and it's just about letting go of some of the perfection in order to use their skills of seeing the greater picture, of bringing things into order, of being clean and tidy and understanding things in depth. These are all great qualities. So it's just about allowing them to be present in balance and letting go of any lower expressions associated with these qualities. And, Virgos do look after health and physical and emotional health. And this is part of this axis, to have imbalance between your spiritual health and your physical and emotional health. And I wouldn't even put emotional there, but would just use that for this instance, because that is what I've noted here. And in regards to kind of being in service, there's like a place of service that ties in this heart-based consciousness of Pisces, where you are in service for the collective or whoever it is that you serve in whatever way, whether it's just you being your new unique light, shining out your energy from your heart space, walking around your community, or if it is, for example, running events or working one-to-one with people, whatever it is, okay? That that service comes from a place of compassion, not obligation. And I feel like obligation was on the previous page, or it's certainly intended to be. So, what can happen with Virgo is they can drop into this place of complaining and bitterness and feeling like everything's put on them, but actually they've often put themselves in that place. And so we just need to be aware of this and take care of that within ourselves during this time. And yeah, healthy, flexible routines. So absolutely health and balance, but being flexible with that. So if something's gonna be beautiful and enjoyable and bring you a lot of energy in other areas, you don't have to absolutely stick to, that 8 a.m. yoga class every day, whatever it is. And yes, a deep connection with the earth and natural world and healing. So, excuse me. Virgo is very much the medicine woman man of the zodiac and very deeply connected with this earth element, as I've mentioned. Very connected to the cycles and is the third earth sign. So is the most elevated in consciousness as far as I'm aware. So not like lowly Taurus here. I'm joking, by the way. And they all have their own unique qualities and they're all beautiful in their own way. So just the final part of this now. So we are letting go of the lower expressions of Virgo. We are stretching into the higher expressions or allowing these to be present for us, the highest expressions of Virgo. We are stretching into the higher expressions of Pisces, which we saw over page. And now we're also going to talk about as we grow and stretch, there can also be other themes that emerge, um, which are the lower expressions of Pisces. So this is what I mean about it being this balance and dance. And, it's not about getting into that Virgo over analysis of trying to figure out how to be in balance. It's literally about reflecting, taking some time to go inwards, maybe then bringing it into a meditative space because that's the Pisces which we're being asked to lean into and just growing with it, over time with this deep compassion for self and also for others. And so the lower expressions of Pisces can be things like escapism in whatever form that is. That can even be through meditation, right? So that would be that the spiritual life is out of balance with the physical life and also there's this avoidance that can come through. Okay, so and this avoidance can come into a whole range of things. So it can also come into things like planning. So if you think about leaning into trust and surrender and then what that feels like, which you're being asked to do with the Pisces North Node. But then if you don't plan anything, if you don't bring in balance those Virgoan skills, if you can call it that, Virgoan, then essentially nothing happens. It's because, in this reality, we can intend, but then we need to take physical action. And this is part of the planning. So it would be planning things out, but with not overanalyzing it, not spending too long on it, not needing it to be perfect, but just planning things out. There's things like victim mentality. So if things aren't going right for that person, whoever it is, if it's yourself, it's good to always check like how much am I desiring to be rescued in this? How much am I making myself out to be, even to myself, kidding myself that I'm worse off than everyone else. And it's just something to slowly strip away layers of if you recognize it. It rises up in me sometimes. I'm like, oh, look at that. Oh, look where I want to be rescued. Wow. I mean, it's kind of natural. And especially, I'd say for women and especially for those who find themselves on their own with children because there isn't that masculine presence. And so there is a gap. So some of it's not even, some of it can kind of paint itself as victim mentality, whereas actually it's just a lack of balance in some of the societal structures that are there and relational structures and the lack of the village and all these beautiful things that is kind of what we used to call friends of mine used to call the ancient ways or the old ways. But now we've started to call the true ways. Thank you for that, Sarah Astro. And the true way. Yeah. So not the way that is now, and a remembering of how it was before to be in community and in connection and to be in sacred reciprocity with this earth and in reverence of the goddess and all that she so lovingly provides us every day. And yeah, off on a tangent there, but coming back, that was very Piscean actually, to wander off into that dreamland of being appreciative of all that is. So something to take care of here is Pisces can be boundaryless, and so it is known as the most boundaryless sign, boundaryless, and within this there can be an overgiving, you know. So it's just about going, okay, I'm going to give with compassion, service with compassion, giving with compassion from an open, expansive heart, but it needs to be in balance between my needs and other people's. And, you know, with Pisces, it can be very much about helping the all. And number one can come at the bottom of the pile. So yeah, just something to be aware of there. Um, Also, and again, self-doubt comes up here and feelings of inadequacy. So really we're being asked to let go of self-doubt across the board, including myself. And you know, this can also lead to the withdrawal as well from the self-doubt, you know, I've seen, or for various reasons. So I do know that we are being asked to spend more time alone, to spend more time going inwards, to spend more time meditating and in presence and working with practices that support us in a whole range of ways, particularly spiritual enhancement and growth. But it's also important that we continue to be in society and continue to connect with people. And I have seen this theme playing out with people. I've felt it in myself that I've needed a lot more inward and downtime, a lot more, yeah, emotion rising at times within me, but also this much greater ability now as I continue to stretch with these themes into this place of compassion and love. And you know, there's lots of things that have helped me with this. So I'll just name a few. So I'd say that rose is a very powerful medicine that I've been working with intermittently for a number of years now. And thank you for being here. Um, okay. So Mary Magdalene's just come in. As many of us have, you know, she's come into our conscious awareness, many of us over the years. She actually came in for me last year. Around a year ago, actually, to this time, and talked to me about the Blue Rose lineage, which I've been connecting into since then. But Mary Magdalene and this energy is very ripe on the planet right now. This energy of the divine feminine, of the divine mother, and all that that brings us. And Rose can really enables us to soften into that, to allow our heart to heal, to let go of some of those Virgoan qualities. There I go again. And yeah, so Rose, and I've also been working with my higher heart chakra with Rose. I find that very powerful. Other things that I feel can be really helpful for this axis, things like the Bach flower remedies. You know, there's many of them that can really support with these themes that are coming up. White chestnut for overthinking, for example. You've got walnut for change that I think is useful across the board energetically right now. And things like beech for criticism of others. So a well-made up Bach flower remedy that is tailored to you is really beneficial and supportive. I've found on my journey over the last kind of 8 years of working with them. And there's many other medicines. Hawthorn is beautiful medicine at this time, really allows us to heal our heart space. And yeah, what else would I recommend to go with this? Well, I feel like anything you can do to connect more deeply with the earth while also connecting to your spiritual gifts, whilst also exercising at the same time would be highly beneficial. And connecting with like-minded groups of people. Also, you know, I can provide the sheet for anyone that wants to look at the details. I will pop the link underneath. And yeah, just let me know like how beneficial has this been for you? Like what from each side of this axis, like what has resonated with you? Were there Virgo lower expressions that you recognized in yourself, either in the past or presently, that you know you're letting go of, or you've recognized you're to let go of, or to you know stretch through into the Pisces higher expressions? Are there lower expressions of Pisces that are coming up for you? I know there are for me. I'm still working with them. They're in my conscious awareness. but there has to be a readiness as well, right? And this is a growth stretch that we are moving through now for the next year. We can move through that really consciously with these in our awareness, revisiting them regularly, reflection time, and that will increase our soul's growth that we are able to achieve when working consciously with these. And that is why I bring astrology, because it enables us on the planet to tune into a higher level of consciousness that is operating outside of us, but is essentially part of us also, because we are all one, my belief. And so those planets are a part of our consciousness too. And, it said the ancient sages, they went in and they connect with the planetary consciousness inside of themselves. And this is accessible for all of us. But we're also able to grow and stretch with these energies that are coming from outside of us, but are also coming from inside of us too. And yeah, that's why I'm here to enable people to stretch into their soul's growth in this lifetime to allow more of their soul's essence to shine through and for this earthly life to be more easeful and peaceful and grateful. And I'm sure there's more plants and flowers that would benefit this axis. I'll put some more thought into it. There's definitely some crystals that are coming in. I mean, amethyst straight away is a powerful crystal um, for Pisces, but also use your intuition, tune in, start to tune into your body medicine, start to learn dowsing if you don't already. Get your rods back out and work with them, play with them, play with your senses. I've been doing a thing with my little boy recently where we've been hiding a stick around the house. He's been hiding a stick around the house, and I've been finding it with my rods, my dowsing rods, because I've just started using them. It's can be really fun. Can be really fun exercise. We hide things behind cloths and guess what they are, and various things like that. Have numbers in our head and see if we can project them telepathically. There's a whole range of ways that you can stretch into your spiritual gifts, and now is a very highly potentiated time to do that. So, thank you for joining me today. If you found this useful, please comment below. Please subscribe. I'll be sharing more videos either on these themes or on plant consciousness, which is some of my key soul's work in this lifetime on this earth. And yeah, it's been beautiful to be with you this afternoon. Take care. Mwah.